Can you hear me, Shamla?
Yes, yes. Good evening,
Okay.
viewers, and welcome once again to yet another show of Fridays with Geopasi. Geopasi started as a community program under the Ministry of Minority Affairs and now has become a universal program for creating a work life balance. Like the Passis, the world today faces issues of globalization. We all need our voices to be heard in the unseemingly uncaring silence. We need advice on relationships, loneliness, health, and well being. Sorry. I'm so sorry, viewers. Uncaring silence. Sorry. We need advice on relationships, loneliness, health, and well being, and above all, psychological, practical, and moral support. The online platform that we are offering covers everything from children to culture. As we plan, we look forward to your participation and suggestions. Let us become a global family with trained professionals and experienced individuals online with us to help create a online family together. Today, we have Mrs. Deepa Mavan Kurve, who is a family court lawyer and specializes in divorce, maintenance, and custody. They say marriages are made in heaven. So, what happens thereafter? Let us examine our relationships and their problems from a legal perspective. We have all faced tensions in our marriage, especially with the long stretch of being together with very little or no personal space. But the discussion is about how we can handle this issue. So let's move on to Deepa Marvin Kurve and let's see what she has to say. All yours, Deepa.
Good evening, friends. Today, my topic is going to be marriage and commitment. Isn't it funny that today I'm approaching marriage as a subject and not divorce because I'm a divorce lawyer? But marriage has always been an enigma to me. Ever since I started practicing in the family court more than 20 years back, I realized that very often very little attention is paid by the people to marriage itself and how to work on the relationship, because from a joint family system we all have come to become nuclear families now. We are not monitored, no one is there to take care of the couple as such, so the couple is thrown and they move ahead very often in a wrong direction. So if we look at marriages even around 30 years back, you will see that around 80 to 90% of the women in those days were homemakers. And they were trained to enter into a marriage right from the time they were very little. Now, let's take schools for instance. All the girls in school had a class every week of needlework and baking. So, why was needlework there? Today, you don't even hear of needlework as a subject which is taught in schools.
Right.
But this is how women were trained. These girls were trained from the beginning to be good homemakers. Like things like, you'll be amazed to know that hemming was taught. Now, who knows how to do hemming today? If there's something, we just go and hand it to the tailor, say, Sila dena bhaiya, you know. So, girls today do not even know what that hemming is. If I use the word with my daughter, she'll say, what's that? You know. But we were very adept at doing hemming and we knew very well how to bake by the time we got married. So 80% of the girls who came in, who did their education, were generally graduates, and they did graduation so that they could get good catches. So that was the way marriage moved in those days. Now, if you look at this, in this scenario, you will see that these girls, when they got married, they and when generally they went into joint families where there was a huge support of a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, sister-in-laws, family members, people walking in and out of the house, and of course the new bride would be shown off to all the family members. अरे एक बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाती है, देखो ये सिलाया है, this is her knitting and this is her crochet and this is her uh, stitching and needlework and all those things. She was made to feel part of the family, and if there were any quarrels between the husband and wife or any misunderstanding, the entire family was there to resolve the issues. But then we move from those joint families into nuclear families. And then you see only the husband and wife. Very often, no mediator to resolve the issues. So, most of the issues are either put on the back burner or they are confronted with huge wars between the couple. So, what is it that was there in the earlier times which is not there today? We had a certain role playing which we did earlier. Women were the homemakers and the men were the breadwinners. It was a very distinguished role which a man and a woman played. So the woman took care of the home, the husband earned, he came back, he gave the salary to the woman, and of course, the woman was very nicely, she looked after the home, took care of everything, saw that the husband's needs were fulfilled. And of course, within a year of the marriage, the woman had children. So the woman was then involved with family, child rearing, and her entire life went on beautifully because of that. The husband respected her. He was, and both of them had very few issues between them, because even if you look at her post having children or doing all those things, there was a huge family support for her. So after her pregnancy, after her delivery, she came back. There were people who would tell her, now you go to sleep, we'll take care of the baby. If the baby cries, there was someone to hold the baby. So all those things were being taken care of. So if you look at it, that family system worked very well in those days. But then, of course, we go through those ads during those times of India. Fair girl wanted, who will take care of the home, and it was sounded very much like a Mills and Boone story, that a woman got married and went to a good home and the husband took care of her. Then we move forward, the woman's independence. We come to a part where the woman started educating herself better, being professionals, more doctors, more engineers, more lawyers, and women were doing better and better. And then they were shoulder in shoulder with the men, of course. So then, when she became that, the ads in Times of India started changing. They started going, woman, a man wants a wife who's educated and is earning well. So now let's look at the marriages here now. The marriages here say that the husband, when he meets the wife for the wife to be for the first time, she says, how much are you earning? That's the first question which is asked. Because this man comes into this marriage with at least a couple of EMIs. They have the house they are living in. Then they have a house which is bought as an investment. So there are two flats already there for which EMIs are going. Then of course there are two cars, one for him and one for her. So again those two EMIs are going. Then you have a huge number of goodies which you want to buy in the house. Anything electronic has to be there in the house. Any new cell phone has to be in the house. And all those, our today's market is only wanting these people to keep paying the EMIs forever. And it's the seller's market today because they are giving all these things at a premium price. And Every person wants to have the latest iPhone, the latest iPad, the latest refrigerator, 5-door refrigerator, you know, and I don't know the works. So, of course, if a one person cannot pay for it, so the wife has to be earning. So, when the bride comes into the family, she comes as a earning member and a solid support to the man. Now, when we look at that scenario, the woman has changed. The woman has become independent. She is now the earning member. She's supposed to stand shoulders to shoulder with the man, and she's supposed to be taking care of all the needs of the financial needs of the family. But where do the emotional needs come up over here? Because the man has not changed. The Indian man is still the same. If he comes home at 5:30 and if the wife comes at 6:30, he will come back home, throw his bag, remove his shoes and socks, dump them somewhere, lie on the sofa, take out the newspaper and start reading it and wait for the wife to come back from work so that he can get his hot cup of tea after she comes back. And after she comes back, the wife is expected to throw her handbag, run into the kitchen, wash her hands, make a cup of tea for the husband, give it to him, and then start cooking for the evening. So that's how the scenario has been, because the man still expects the woman in this country to be working. There may be a lot of clothes lying in the washing machine which the maid has switched on in the morning or the husband has switched on in the morning. After coming back, she's cooking her food on one side and drying out the clothes on the other side. You know, and the man is then transferred himself from the newspaper to the TV, you know, and he's watching the latest news or probably the latest serial. And from outside you hear noise. Are dekhna kya ho raha hai? Little realizing the wife is still giving tadka to the curry, you know. So all these things are happening, you know, in the Indian household. If you go to any Indian household, 90% of those households are still in this situation where the wife is coming back from work and doing all this. So we have to change here. And that is where the commitment to the marriage comes in. And this is how 90% of the problems which are existing between the husband and wife can be resolved. Point one is that little bit of empathy or compassion which you can have for your spouse. When she comes back from work, if you come early from work, keep the kettle on hold or keep the water boiling. The minute she comes, instead of her getting running into the kitchen and making her tea, you can always say, put your bag down, let's have a cup of tea. Or put on the cooker, rice, dal, whatever, and say, I've done part of the cooking. You can just do the rest of it, which I'm not very good at. Or the wife is very tired. You can say, Are, let's have Maggie noodles today. I'm very good at making Maggie noodles. Or let's order in food. It's a good idea today, you know, after a long time, you know, I also feel like eating some Chinese or whatever. So these are words and these are actions which will comfort a woman or comfort a man also. You know, that there is someone who thinks about you, someone who thinks about you being tired, someone who says that, yes, I do care. You're not only a money making machine in this house, you're a person I care about. And that is a very important part of the relationship. And if that is taken care of, and if you hold your wife's hand at that time, she feels so comforted. The second issue which I found, which has always been bothering me a lot, is that many of the couples in today's generation are putting off having children. They wait and they wait and they wait. And no year there's never a good time to have children, let me tell you that. I have faced it and many of the women have faced it because every year there's someone shadi, chacha ki beti ki shadi hai, ये है, वो है, something or the other, some events are there in the family. In today's generation, apart from the events, there are also, अरे ये EMI खत्म हो गए तो बच्चे हो जाने चाहिए. But of course, there's another EMI waiting for you then, so again, it gets prolonged. First thing is, women have a body clock. And that body clock is one of the most important things which every woman and every man needs to look at. The safest time you can have children is below 8, below 30. Latest by the time you're 33, 34. But most of the children today, or most of the women today, wait till they are 38, 39, 40 to have their first child. You are not only putting your life at a risk, you're also putting the child's life at a risk. Because there's so many issues which can be there with the child. One of the most common ones is Down syndrome, like we all know. Autism. These are all things which many of the mothers are facing today. Another thing is, many of the women are unable to conceive after a certain time. Then you're rushing to doctors for IVF, IUI, and with IVF, generally you have multiple babies. Then you're left holding two babies. So all those problems are going to crop up. Secondly, you need to plan your family. If you want to have a family, that is, if you want to have children, then the issue comes up. You have to plan your children in such a way that it is the age of the woman has to be right. Consult a gynecologist immediately after your marriage. Talk to her, take advice. Keep your needs a little less so that you can provide for your children better. So, this is one issue which has always I have been seeing with this new generation. Another point is, after the woman has children, let's consider the period the woman has had a child. She gets sometimes in some companies 3 months maternity leave, sometimes 6 months maternity leave. Fathers also get some paternity leave and all that. But having children is a huge event in a woman's life. Her body completely undergoes huge hormonal changes. And very often, these hormonal changes are not addressed. The woman may have a child, she goes through 75% of women go through postpartum depression, which is very, very common. A woman may want to stay longer with the baby, give time to the baby, but the financial pressures are so much that she has to get back to work, which means that within 3 or 4 months she has to get back to work, start taking care, start that earning again, because if she takes any longer leave, it is going to be without pay. That point, I think, here the husband has to look at this issue before you plan a baby. Then my wife may want to stay home for a year or maybe a year and a half, and there may be no money coming in from her for the next year or so. So we need to do our financial planning accordingly so that we don't get stressed out post the birth of the baby. And this has to be dealt by both the partners with a lot of maturity. Your wife is going to need your support. You have to be compassionate about it. Her body is going to go through huge changes. She's going to be irritable, she's going to be depressed, she's going to be throwing a few tantrums. Please hold her hand. So, these are important things which we never think about, because most of us are not prepared to enter into a marriage. This generation is not prepared to enter into a marriage. They get married, yes, but are you prepared for all these responsibilities? Emotional, financial, physical. These are the commitments you have to be prepared for when you get married. And if you're unable to do all this, wait, don't get married. Establish yourself or say, these are going to be my needs. I don't need two flats. I need one flat for my wife and me. I want to have a family. So we are going to cut down these costs so that we can have a comfortable time with having the child and looking after the child. And I can be a support to the family even when my wife does not work for a year or two after the baby is born. Because your child needs a mother. Your child needs the breast of your mother, of the mother. The mother's touch is one of the most important things for children who then develop into better human beings, into better people. They are able to manage later on in life in a better way than the children who, from the age of 2 months, are left in creches. So, this is one important aspect of the commitment when we talk in the marriage, that husbands have to understand this, wives have to understand this, that we need to cut down on costs. We need to cut down on the financial. Then we can think of having a family. And if you're not able to do it, today many of the children today have women and men have decided they don't want to have children. It's okay. You'll be doing service to yourselves then, because you're not bringing a child into this world who's going to be totally neglected by both the parents because they are running after something else. Because I have realized for a fact that children need their mother 24 by 7. And these are factors, I think, which both the parents need to look at before they go ahead and think of having children. Now, I will come to the last point in these 3 points which I'll be raising now on the issue of commitment. The third issue is the financial transparency, which needs to be there between the couple. Me being a divorce lawyer, I handle a lot of maintenance cases and a lot of divorce cases. Very often, when I ask the wife, so how much is your husband earning? The reply is very standard. I really don't know, madam. They've been living under the same roof for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. But they don't know how much the husband makes, or what is his income, or what is his income tax, how much income tax he is paying. कुछ भी मालूम नहीं होता है. This is what I have realized, that very often husbands and wives don't like to tell each other what their earnings are, or how much taxes are they paying, or what is their. It is never shared between the husband and wife. So EMIs भर दे, बाकी का whatever is there is kept aside, and no one, both the husband and wife, do not maintain transparency. This is a very important aspect which every couple should take into consideration, that okay, my wife makes 10,000 and I make 20,000 or whatever. This is how much we put in EMIs and all that. So it should be a practical approach towards putting into EMIs, I feel. Because if their earnings are 20 and 10, that's 1 is to 2. The EMIs also should be 1 is to 2, which should be in all fairness. So the comfort is there. You don't say, तुम तुम्हारा पैसा डालो EMI में, मेरा पैसा मैं save करूंगा. And when the time comes, you don't take out the money or don't give her the money for expenditure. So the financial aspect has to be dealt with by both the partners in a very mature way. And yes, these are my earnings. This is what we can bring to the table, and this is what we need to put into savings. And this is how the savings are going to be. And they're going to be all joint savings so that both of us will have a right on that money whenever we need it. Buying properties. The properties are bought by the husband in his name. The wife is a co borrower, but her name is not there in the property. Why? So these are aspects which both the couple have to look into. Don't make your spouse feel, that she's not a part of your life. Keep everything transparent, keep everything open, so that the wife knows and the husband knows as to how much money. Very often, wives inherit from their parents. They will hide it, they will not tell the husband. Why? If you're going to live together for the rest of your life, till death do us apart, why don't you want to share that information? So, both the couple has to take this into consideration as to when, if we have to live together in the same house under the same roof, we need to share, and there has to be a transparency when it comes to your financials. Share the same CA so that you know where your income tax is, what are your savings, what are your investments, all those things, and be transparent about it. It's a feel good for both the sides. So these I felt, when you're going to give a commitment in the marriage, if these three major points are looked at, you know the small skirmishes, you can always overcome them. Small arguments, you know. And today I'm not going to touch the issue of a third person in your marriage, because that would take up another hour or so. But try to maintain transparency when it comes to your relationship, and be committed to it. And that will definitely help you in building up a stronger bond, and let it be there from the first day of marriage, because marriage puts huge demands on you. They're huge. I always feel that, like I said, marriage as an enigma. If I look at it, two different people coming from two different backgrounds, entirely different backgrounds, different upbringings, are put together and said, live together till death do us apart. So there are so much of learning both the couple has to do along the way. And if it is done in a more compassionate, empathetic manner, there is nothing which will stop this marriage from working. Let your husband be your best friend, or let your wife be your best friend. Share as much as possible with your wife, share as much as possible with your husband. I don't say share everything, you can't, and you should not. But I feel there are few things, most of the things you can share with your spouse. And if these three factors which I just mentioned, which I felt as a woman and as a lawyer, I felt if these three things are addressed by the couple right from the beginning, you will be in a better place when it comes to your marriage. Today, I'm not even talking about, like I said, I'm not even going to talk about children, how to bring up the children, or what do we need to look at, or what signals unit. But my only, what I would tell the parents today, that the couple today, is that if there is anything, if you feel you are getting any signals about your marriage floundering, you feel you're losing, that touch which is required, don't feel ashamed to seek help.
True.
Because very often we push these things on a back burner, we put them under the carpet, we don't address them, and then we wait for this huge blowout, which happens eventually in most of the relationships. And then there is no going back. So when you first see, even in the first year or 1.5 years of marriage, if you see that it is not, something is not working over there, you have a choice. You have the choice of going to professionals to seek help, and even otherwise, if it is not going to work out, you can even think of the divorce, so that You are not spending time in a relationship which is not going to go anywhere. So these are things which every couple needs to address, because today we have a lot of professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, marriage counselors, child counselors, who are there to help us. And this is the first thing. If you see that something is not right, every woman, every man knows that these things are not working right. You have to seek help, and you have to convince your spouse that no, we need to go to a marriage counselor because I'm not feeling comfortable about certain things. And a third party mediator will show you a path to work out your differences if there are any. Or if they are a figment of your imagination, she will also tell you, no, I don't think this is normal. And this is how it will work. So, this is my suggestion that all of y'all, if you address these three issues and still you have a problem, then please approach a marriage counselor, because your relationship is then going to be helped if you have addressed all these three, what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Deepa. This
Thank
was
you.
really an eye opener. Yes, we need to take a call on all these things. But let's go back to what you said earlier, that
Mm.
uh, did you say that these are problems which have come up mainly because of the nuclear family scenario?
It's
Was it?
mainly the nuclear family because there is no mediator in the house. Okay, both the couple are there. See, there is no family help. I'm talking about even after the children are born. Earlier, we had mother in laws, father in laws, sister in laws in the house, and you could leave the baby with the family.
I'm
And
sorry, 1 minute. I beg to differ here. There are very many people here who would not agree with that statement, because mother-in-law, father-in-law, whoever in-laws may think
uh,
that they have done the duty, and I'm sorry, that's your baby, you look after the baby.
mm,
I have my life to lead.
mm,
Okay.
mm.
No more today is the world of yesterday, where the family really stood around you, where your baby was concerned, and in fact had more say over the baby's upbringing than the couple had.
See, I'm talking about the singular nuclear families which are there now. Only husband, wife, and one kid. Okay, many of these joint families. Okay, uh, yes, the mother-in-law is also working often. The father-in-law is also working. So when you go into a household like that, you have the support definitely, because you already are coming into a setup which has their cooks, and they have their, the entire setup which is there, or their duties already set out for everyone. So you're not burdened with the entire taking care of the family. You're burdened with a little bit of it. So maybe you may have to cook the lunch, or maybe you may have to cook the dinner, but the entire burden of expenses, expenditure, and taking care of the home is not yours. But at the same time, there are going to be skirmishes, because a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law, in very small percentage of mother-in-law and daughter-in-laws really get along. You're entering your mother-in-law's arena, which is a little dangerous, but in today's time I'm talking about.
Right.
But but you have the support, definitely you have a support. Like, you don't have to think whether I have to lock up the house and go, you know kutte ko kahan chodu, billi ko kahan chodu. They are taken care of. You know what I mean, that way.
Apart from the child, of course.
Apart from the child.
You know. All right. There's one more thing that you spoke about earlier, about the kind of conditioning that the girl had, that she had to go and set up a house, set up a home. Okay. Today we have moved on, like you explained, we have moved on to a nuclear family. But the men, the upbringing which you yourself had said, that they haven't changed. The load is not shared because of a lot of problems, because of these kind of issues. And every time the lady said, adjust kar lo beta,
Mm.
it's okay, these things
Yeah.
happen, wo ladka hai. That is the main thing, he's a boy.
No,
Okay.
that is the conditioning of that generation, where mothers will tell the daughters to get the glass of water for the father, but will not tell the son कि बेटा जाके पानी लेके आओ.
So
You know
that is still existing today.
that, yes, that conditioning has been there. So we have to change that conditioning now. We
So
need to
how?
teach our sons. We need to teach our sons
Mm.
that, well, it's not only the daughter who has to learn to cook. It is you also who have to cook. You share
That
your
is okay.
duties.
Okay. But I'm talking about after the marriage. Okay. We are talking about the couples are pretty compatible. Everything is hunky dory with them. But there is bound to be a drift in the relationship. There is bound to be some kind of tensions in a relationship when this kind of understanding is not there. How can
Yes.
couples deal with this kind of a thing effectively?
No, the
I'm
thing,
sure you
see,
get a lot of
yeah,
people
I think
who,
the main thing we need to look at, Shamla, is that the if this issue is there, both the husband and wife have to sit down and discuss this issue, because physically both of them are extremely tired when they come back from work. So,
right,
yeah. Secondly, do not expect. There are a lot of men today who are homemakers. The women are making very good salaries, and the men are sitting at home and taking care of the children or whatever. They take the paternity leave and they extend it. You know. So
right,
either ways, there has to be compassion over there. That's what I feel. Okay, okay. See, even otherwise, let's look at the fact that she's a homemaker, complete homemaker. Does she have to
right.
cook every day? Does she have to clean every day? Because a homemaker doesn't have free time. Look at it that way. She is like the ayah of the family. She has no holiday. She's continuously taking care of the children, the husband, the in laws, the dogs, the cats, you name it, and she's taking care of them. Why don't you think that my homemaker wife needs a break? Why shouldn't she go out with her friends? Why shouldn't she go out shopping alone? Why shouldn't she feel कि आज मुझे खाना नहीं बनाना है? Is it because she's a homemaker you want her to cook all the time? तो मैं तो जाता हूँ काम पे, but you're working 8 hours. She's working 24/7. You have 2 days holiday. She doesn't have a holiday.
In
What
fact, there's
about
more work
that?
on holiday.
Yes. So what about that lady? Have compassion. You need to look at it with a lot of empathy. Just because she's in the house doesn't mean that she has to be working the whole day and 24/7. So these are issues which every couple have to address.
Right, that's true.
So
And like you said,
if you're a homemaker, and if your husband comes back from work and sees that she has not cooked today, Arey, why don't worry, we'll order food from outside, or keep 2 days where you order food from outside, or say I will cook on those 2 days when I come back from work. Why not? Then she need a break from the kitchen. Because I know people who get up from the dining table after having their dinner without even lifting their plate. So these are issues which have to be handled. And the wife doesn't complain because she's so financially dependent on the man. Are you giving her a salary? No. You get paid a salary when you go to work, but she doesn't gets a salary because she's working at home. She's taken for granted. So we need to completely change our perspective when we look at a relationship today.
true. I mean, okay, what you say is very, very true, ma'am. But the thing is, um, it should also come from within. That is the commitment that we are looking at. If
Yes.
I am married to XYZ person, then it is up to me to see that it works, and I'll ensure that it'll work any which way. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be a doormat.
Yes, and I don't want any of the women or any of the men for that matter to be doormats. It should
Right.
not be my way or the highway for either of them.
That's true. Now, we spoke so much about parents being a source of help. What happens when there are no parents? And how can couples decide to have a child? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know whether I put it correctly. What I mean is there is no support, okay? Family support. Then how can couples even think of having a child without me losing my EMI and without me losing my job or whatever, you know?
That's what I said, that if you want to plan a child, right from the beginning, you have to keep your needs a little low till the child is a little old enough to be to take care of himself.
Does the
The
child
first
ever
in
get old enough?
No, they never grow old enough. Once you have a child, he's a child forever. But what I mean to say is, till he goes to a full day school, or after school, he can be kept in the creche for a couple of hours till the parents
Right,
come from work. So,
right.
see, the thing is that those first 3, 4 years are going to be extremely stressful for every parent who plans to have a child,
True.
whether it was 30 years back or whether it is today.
True.
Because having a baby, and then that personal care which a baby requires for those 3 or 4 years, and if you don't have a family, it's either the wife or the husband who has to take care of the child, which means that either the mother has to stay home for a year or 1.5 years, and then start putting the child in the creche for few hours, so that she can still hold on to the job, or whatever arrangements she makes with the company.
Right,
And also, our companies are not geared to give that long a holiday to those mothers,
right,
you know
right, right. Well,
but you cannot forget that this is, we have to deal with the social
and
aspect of a relationship completely over here.
absolutely, absolutely. But that is what, and these there are problems which are going to keep arising. But typically, men do not like to approach others for help.
But they
They
have to.
are. I agree. So what I would feel is that if names and contacts of counselors are given,
Mm.
then probably at one time they will think of approaching these kind of people.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
we look forward to a few names from you, ma'am, if
Yeah.
that is okay.
Yes, from
Right?
I see, basically I practice in Pune. My main
Yes.
practice in Pune. So it depends. If you're staying in the camp side, we have Nilufa Ibrahim, who's a senior marriage counselor. On the Deccan side, we have Shirisha Sathe,
What
who's again a very
I'm
senior
sorry to
counselor.
interrupt here, Deepa, but what we can do is we can list down these names and we can give, because people who are interested, please contact Geopasi and we will forward the names to
Yes,
you.
we will give you the names also. And Shamla madam, you are yourself a very good counselor when it
Thank,
comes to children and when it comes to marriage.
yes.
I will put your name on the top, in fact.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I just wanted to ask you, like, this is apart from marriage and commitment, but yes, a commitment of some sort. Uh, what about abuse, ma'am? You are, especially in this
See,
time.
I have not touched this issue of abuse today
I
because that
know,
would just
I
go on into a very lengthy conversation.
Okay,
You know,
give us a
uh,
small, a 2 3 sentence answer where if a person is in an abusive relationship in the time like this, in a time of this pandemic where you are not allowed your own personal space at all, what do you
mm.
think we can do? How do you think we can
See, the first thing is, we
manage?
are there between the husband and wife. They will have to talk it out. These are the issues which are going to get us into a fight. There are certain triggering factors in every relationship which they go into arguments.
Okay.
So those subjects are going to be taboo in that household.
But excuse me for interrupting
Effort.
here. If
Yes.
I am in an abusive relationship, will I
Mm.
have the wherewithal or the strength to sit down and say, excuse me, can we please have a talk on this? I know this is an irritant, but let's have a talk on this. You think it is even plausible? Is it?
See, the thing is that you have to maintain peace, because in a household, when you have children. Like many of these couples, when they called me up, I gave them two options. I said, take the children, the father will sleep with one child and the mother will sleep with one child, and you all will be in separate rooms. And it has helped.
Oh,
No conversations between you all. You prepare the food, let him help you write down the duties, because if both of them are working from home,
okay.
the children's classes were going on the computer.
Right.
Yeah. So I had told many of the couples who called me up that you have to lay down the rules now. Otherwise, you will have to call the police.
Oh,
Yeah. Lay down the rules. That yes, we have two children. The father will sleep with the son and the mother will sleep with the daughter. They will sleep in independent two separate bedrooms. They will only interact when it comes to have you eaten this or have you eaten that, and keep your conversation down to the minimum till the lockdown period is over. And it has worked. It has worked in many of the cases, fortunately. And in some of the cases, I even told the women that you move out of the house and move into your parents' house.
oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Because sometimes the situation, see, once the alcohol ban was removed, you,
Okay.
that was the
Yes.
time when everything blew up. Because the
All
men
right.
would go and just get 4 5 bottles and drink till they finish those bottles.
Oh God.
you know
Okay.
so there was total chaos in those homes.
But what happens once it's over and you don't get any more? Was the peace?
No, but see, there was no peace because they kept filling their. See, they had not drunk for about 2 months. They had not had any alcohol. No one had stored up alcohol. So whatever was over within 1 or 2 weeks of the lockdown. After that, for
Okay.
nearly 2 months, there was no alcohol. They were craving for alcohol, which caused many of the problems which were there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
once the alcohol came into the market, everyone was. It was a free for all then.
Absolutely.
So this was another problem which the women were facing, because we don't have so many means I'm not being very sexist about it, but the number of women drinking and the number of men drinking, the ratio is different.
Especially in India.
Yeah, in India, yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole thing really blew it after the alcohol came into the market.
Okay, ma'am. There is one personal, one very not personal. Actually, it is a question which we would love you to answer. What are the provisions in the Parsi Marriage Act in India so as to give time to the husband and wife to think over the decision of getting a divorce once again? And if they want to patch up, suppose they've
See,
thought of a divorce and they want to patch up and have a
in
happy life
the yes, now for instance, in a Parsi marriage, what happens is you file in the district court or you file in the high court, where there is no counselor as we have in the family courts. Okay, so we ask if there is any possibility where if any of my client tells me that I think that this marriage could work out, ma'am, can you look for some? So we ask for a mediator to be appointed. We can ask the court to either appoint a marriage counselor separately, and the payment is done by the husband and wife, or we ask for the court to appoint a judge mediator who can send a report back and saying that this marriage can work out if they get help or whatever. So these are, we use these means. I never enter into the courtroom unless all these possibilities are dealt with.
so you are
There's
talking about before the actual divorce takes place.
Yes, but like you said, what would any other couple do? Whether it's a Parsi marriage or a Hindu marriage or a Muslim marriage, any other couple would go to a mediator or would go to a marriage counselor who would help you work out the marriage or work out the differences which are there between the couple. So that could happen in any marriage, not only the
Right.
Parsi marriage.
So do you think, like in Catholics, normally
Mm,
they have this premarital counseling
yes.
where all the highs and lows are taken care of, and
Mm,
all aspects are touched
yeah.
upon,
Yeah.
and you have a fair idea about what is in store for you.
Mhm.
Similarly, do you think it would help if even the Parsis, the Hindus, and everybody
Yes,
else follow suit?
there are a lot of people today who go for premarital counseling.
Really?
They go to marriage counselors to talk about, discuss about these issues. Then what should we be prepared for? What are we looking at? And the counselors do help them.
So, is it? Do you think it is helpful if the counselors are from the same community, or
No, they need not be from the same community,
okay,
because eventually a marriage, whether it's a Parsi marriage or a Hindu marriage or a Christian marriage, it's a marriage
and based on commitment?
and based on commitment. So I think going to for premarital counseling would help the couples a lot. In fact, in Geoparcy, you can have sessions for premarital counseling, and that would help the couples a lot to know what they would be facing once they get married.
Right.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
there are so many points there, especially Shamla ma'am, when you talk about people coming from different households, then you have a lot of pressure from the parents, parental interference. You know,
Yes,
all those things can be cut off if you go through premarital counseling. Where to draw the line?
that's true.
Because in nowadays, girls are getting married at a, they are much older than what the women were when 20, 30 years back. Today they are
Yes.
either in their late 20s or they are in their mid 30s when they get married. They are set in their ways. So premarital counseling is very necessary today.
Yes. Especially for we
Mm.
know how a man is trained and how a woman is trained, no matter how other forward they may look. In other cases they may be earning and working in the best of positions and everything, but mindset is
There's a
what.
mindset
uh,
and we need to change that,
yes,
and I think premarital counseling
yes,
will help so that the marriages will work out better
yes,
and be
yes.
much more healthier than what they are presently, which is really worrying me.
Okay. That is great. That is really great. I think we got enough for today's session, and we would definitely
Yes.
like to have Mrs. Marvin Kurve come in once again and speak on other aspects of marriage, maybe a little later after
Yes.
digesting all this. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Marvin
You're
Kurve.
welcome.
And we would also like to forward your email ID in case people want to contact you directly for
Directly,
whatever
yes.
reason they may not have contacted
Yes.
us today.
Yes.
So,
I'll give you also the list of marriage counselors in Pune, and
Haji,
I'm sure you have the list of marriage counselors in
would you be
Bombay.
also able to give us a Nagpur and Bangalore and elsewhere where you
Yes,
are
I can
practicing?
contact the lawyers there and I can get the numbers of all these places, including, I think in Delhi also you have a big group of geoparsies over there. So they must be already having a list in Delhi. But I think Chennai, Bangalore, and I can try to get you the numbers and
Okay,
I can forward them to you so that you can put them on your site so that
okay,
people can use the services. Yeah.
all right, okay.
And work for a better tomorrow.
Yes, that is very, very important. That is very
Yes.
important. Okay, so
So
thank you, viewers, for being with
thank
us
you so
today.
much for inviting me
And
to give
we
this.
have a new Instagram page for Parsor Foundation. So please follow up with interesting material on community heritage. Please follow up in Facebook, in Instagram, and our website, geoparsi.org. Thank you very much for being with us here today. Thanks once again, Mrs. Deepa Marvin Kurve, for all the
Thank you
inputs
very
that you
much.
gave us.
It was
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
Safe night.
Yes.